Previously, Snakey discovered he had survived and found Chen's cauldron, replacing his old demon core. After a week of training, he felt pissed off at being as small as a bird. While hunting, he fought and defeated a demonic boar, obtaining its core. After eating it and leveling up, he heard an irritating noise, realizing he might be in trouble. Now to this week's chapter. The human boy raises his spear, standing firm and ready. Snakey, trying to look menacing, hisses with his mouth open, his mind racing with confusion over the human's presence. He eyes the boy, sensing a potential threat. His gaze shifts from curiosity to alarm as he takes in the boy's stance, trying to make sense of whether the boy is preparing to attack and if he might also be a cultivator. He starts to panic, realizing the boy might be another Chen fan. His mind flashes to past encounters, remembering the mocking laughter and taunts. As the boy grits his teeth and prepares to attack, the fear intensifies. Snakey, desperate to avoid death, prepares his own counterattack. He lunges at the boy's weapon, snapping it in half just as the boy tries to strike. But then, Snakey panics and flees, hissing as he races away, thinking about escaping before any companions arrive. The human boy, confused, notices the dead boar Snakey had hunted and starts to feel a sense of relief. He rushes home, eager to tell his father. Meanwhile, the father looks on in confusion, unable to understand what's happened. Meanwhile, back in the forest, Snakey looks over his shoulder, relieved that he wasn't pursued. He reassures himself that it was just a false alarm and reflects on the situation with growing confusion. He begins to question whether he might be deluding himself or if he has an irrational fear of young men. As Snakey heads back to the temple, he feels frustrated about his situation. Arriving at the mountain god temple, he thinks about going inside to pray for peace of mind. He believes this place could be lucky for him, given his past experiences. As Snakey enters the temple, he picks up a few incense sticks but doesn't light them. He reflects on the taboo of having inner demons in cultivation and the need for sincerity to overcome them. He speaks to the temple, thinking of it as a place of personal significance. As he holds the incense, he notices the pleasant aroma. He follows the enticing aroma and his face lights up with joy. He discovers a spread of food and starts to drool. He begins eating, thinking that it would be more sincere to enjoy the food before praying. Nearby, a curious mouse wonders about the source of the delicious smell. After finishing the food, Snakey offers a final prayer, feeling grateful for the meal. He prays to the mountain god for protection, to help him overcome his inner demons, and to bless him with successful cultivation. He asks for strength, proper survival, and continued success in his journey. Suddenly, voices draw Snakey's attention. He hears cries for help and the sounds of someone being chased. Snakey thinks about his bad luck with people showing up again. He watches as a lady is pursued and realizes she has cornered herself in a dead end. Snakey activates a skill, noting that the mountain temple has only one entrance, making escape without detection impossible. He decides to observe. Nearby, a man announces that none of the women he, young Master Q, pursues have ever refused him. The woman calls out, pleading for him not to come near. The man responds with a threat, warning her to think twice before acting or face severe consequences. She tears up and appears determined to take drastic measures to prevent him from getting anything. Snakey, hidden, recognizes the name Young Master Q and realizes the situation's gravity. He recalls the village incident and recognizes Young Master Q, realizing he must be a formidable expert based on his previous actions with Chen Fen. Snakey decides to stay hidden to avoid detection. As the man covers the woman's mouth, Snakey observes, noting the unusual behavior and the human tendency to act unpredictably. He questions what could be attracting Q to the woman, feeling uneasy about the situation. Snakey considers that if the woman were thrown into the mountains, she would face immediate danger. The man looks down at her with ill intent and comments on her audacity, planning to enjoy himself before sending her away. She looks up at him in fear. Snakey observes, noting that while young Master Q appears muscular, his intelligence seems lacking. The woman, with a defiant tone, accuses him of forcing her to break off her engagement and removing her lover, Chen Fan. She vows not to let him go even if she becomes a ghost. Snakey moves closer, hoping for protection and wishing for the situation to resolve quickly. In his distraction, he accidentally breaks a part of a statue. As the piece falls and crashes loudly to the ground, both the man and the woman look towards the noise, noticing the broken statue. The man realizes someone else is present and demands to know who is there, shouting for the intruder to come out. Meanwhile, the woman, in a panic, runs to the mountain statue, desperately begging for salvation. She looks up at the mountain statue, pleading for help and fortune. As she notices Snakey, he panics, realizing he's in trouble. She screams in fear, attempts to turn and run, but ends up running into a knife. Both the man and the woman are confused by the unfolding events. In a moment of panic, the man shouts in disbelief, unable to comprehend what has just happened. The man drops to his knees, struggling to process the situation. His men arrive, calling out to him, but they stop short upon seeing the scene. One of them comments on whether he is finished, but Q, in a fit of rage, declares that there is a demonic beast present. He stands up and screams for the beast to come out and face him, demanding payback for ruining his plans. Q declares that he is an outer disciple of the Snake Catcher sect and that it is the beast's misfortune to have crossed his path. Snakey, stressed by the mention of the name, feels a surge of fear. Q orders his men to start hunting the beast if it doesn't reveal itself. The men begin searching the walls and calling out for Snakey to come out. Snakey, terrified, shows visible signs of fear but then gains a spark of confidence. Determined to fight rather than face his fate without trying, he suddenly appears and hisses in front of them all. He falls to the ground, exclaiming that it's a snake demon. Q, unfazed, dismisses the threat, noting that the snake demon isn't even 7 feet long and is nothing to be afraid of. One of Kyu's men, trembling, suggests that if it's not so dangerous, perhaps Q should handle it himself. Meanwhile, Q begins gathering energy, instructing his men to hold off Snakey while he prepares his technique. He announces that the Snake Catcher sect's space-splitting palm requires time to gather energy. His men respond with determination, acknowledging Kyu's command. As the men begin their attack, Snakey realizes that the strongest among them is young Master Q. Determined to survive, he resolves to defeat everyone before Q completes gathering his energy. Snakey rises with killing intent in his eyes and launches his attack, swinging his tail with devastating force, destroying everything in its path. He suddenly stops, trying to understand what's happening. Q, filled with fear, looks at Snakey, who has incapacitated his men. Snakey realizes it is not he who is weak, but Q and his men. As Q sees the demon's shadow, he panics, unable to fathom how Snakey defeated his men so quickly. He begins to flee, saying that Snakey will have to wait until he reports to the Snake Catcher sect. Snakey, confused by Kyu's sudden retreat and lack of energy gathering, wonders why Q is running away instead of preparing for battle. As Q runs, he mutters about asking his master to turn Snakey into a pill. Snakey, realizing the situation was too easy, decides he must stop Q before more people arrive. With an annoyed expression, Snakey leaps and strikes Q with his tail, ensuring he stays down. He breathes a sigh of relief, thinking that he's lucky Q decided to flee rather than gather energy. Snakey looks down at Q, feeling fortunate to have avoided further danger. Q notices the mountain god statue and starts to panic, fearing that the danger he faced might be due to eating the mountain god's offering. He frantically gathers the bodies of his men, placing them where the food was originally set out. He pushes the bodies toward the statue, arranging them as offerings. In his desperation, he continues to place the bodies carefully, hoping that this act of restitution will appease the mountain god and prevent further wrath. Snakey, in a state of panic, thinks that this incident might be the mountain god's way of urging him to speed up his cultivation. Otherwise, he will be forced to live in hiding for the rest of his life. The statue begins to glow, and a voice declares that when heaven is about to bestow a great responsibility, Snakey will have the potential to become a great snake in the future. Snakey, relieved and understanding, acknowledges the message, saying, "Thank you, Lord Mountain God." Snakey gathers the bodies and prepares to leave. With a resolute expression, he makes his way back to the deep mountain, driven by a strong sense of purpose. His focus is set on beginning his cultivation immediately, fully committed to his path. 1 week later, a glowing light fills the cave, drawing energy into the space. Snakey reflects on his progress, sighing deeply. Despite a week of intense cultivation, he still needs a significant amount of spiritual fog to advance to the second level. The small beasts he consumes daily are not only failing to satisfy his hunger, but also provide minimal benefits to his cultivation. He longs for another demonic boar to aid in his progress. Snakey ventures outside and sets up a trap for food. While hiding, he reflects on his situation, growing frustrated. Despite the principle of not waiting passively, he realizes it has been days without finding any pigs. Snakey presses on his stomach, looking worn out and reflecting on how difficult it has become to fill his stomach, let alone continue cultivating. He considers that since pigs eat watermelon and he eats pigs, perhaps he should try eating watermelon directly. In the background, he hears voices. A boy and his father are talking about the river's water level and how the father has caught a lot of fish this year. Snakey watches from the top of the cliff, observing the boy and the muscular man. He realizes that the field of watermelon must belong to them. When the boy spots Snakey from a distance, he grabs a bag of fish and starts running toward him. The father looks on, confused, while Snakey remains curious about the boy's intentions. Snakey decides to hide in a tree. From his position, he watches as the boy places the bag of fish on the ground in front of the tree. Confused about the boy's actions, Snakey observes as the boy leaves the bag and runs off. Snakey, puzzled by the boy's departure, remains unsure why the fish were left behind. As the boy calls out while running away, he mentions that the fish are a gesture of goodwill and that Snakey is welcome to eat them. Snakey descends from the tree, astonished and delighted by the sight of the fish. He can't believe they are all intended for him. Snakey looks down at the fish, feeling suspicious and worried that it might be a trap or poisoned. He decides to stay cautious and only inspect the fish. However, his curiosity gets the better of him, and he takes a bite. He initially finds it tasteless, but his enjoyment quickly grows as he continues eating. With each bite, his happiness increases, and he savors the delicious taste. The scene shifts to the boy, who glances back toward where Snakey is. He observes that the black snake seems to really enjoy the fish. As a person approaches, a voice calls out to the boy, making him stop and look up. He sees a man fully covered, who inquires if the boy has seen a black snake recently. The boy notices the man's badge, which bears the symbol of a snake catcher. The little boy thinks the figure is from the snake catcher's sect and wonders if he's here for the old black snake. He notices the boy's silence and wonders if he might be mute. His friend, growing impatient, shakes his head, insisting they should move on. Suddenly, loud cawing from crows breaks the quiet, catching the attention of the two snake catchers. They watch the birds take flight, exchanging glances that suggest they should investigate, raising the little boy's worries as he knows the snake is nearby. Suddenly, a voice calls out, grabbing their attention. Someone has been devoured. The old black snake has taken a victim at the river. One snake catcher looks at his brother, eyes wide with alarm, realizing that the old black snake is indeed at the river. The two snake catchers start sprinting toward the river. The little boy watches, worried, thinking it can't be the black snake. He believes the snake should be eating fish at the cliff and wonders how it could be into places so fast. The scene shifts to Snakey, who has a few broken crow eggs scattered around him as he runs, a mark on his head from being pecked by the angry crows. He cries, confused about why the little boy said he didn't see him. The chaos at the river seems to have saved him from the snake catchers. He quickly slides down the side of the cliff, reflecting that the human world is hard for him to understand. The most important thing right now is that the snake catchers have their eyes on him. If he wants to survive, he knows he can't stay here any longer. He lands and looks at the mountain, realizing he needs to escape to the other side of the river for safety. As he swims across, he thinks about the approaching winter in 3 months and the fact that he hasn't stored any food yet. The thought weighs heavily on him, knowing it will be difficult to improve his cultivation during this time. Just then, a large shadow looms in front of him, catching his attention. Before he can think, a giant fish leaps out of the water and attacks. He manages to dodge just in time, wondering what a demonic beast is doing in the river. As he pops his head underwater, he sees it's a giant eel. It looks like a snake, and suddenly he realizes the eel is the one attacking people, and they've confused it for a snake. The thought weighs heavily on him as he grapples with the blame. He looks closer and notices the eel is covered in battle scars, realizing it must have fought with the snake catchers. Confused about why it's attacking him, he suddenly locks eyes with the creature. Snakey thinks that the eel is on the run and needs to replenish its lost energy, deciding to eat him. A smile spreads across his face as he contemplates that he can do the same thing. He decides to live and swims away, thinking the eel must be strong to have escaped the snake catchers, realizing it's too dangerous to hunt it now. The eel looks confused as he leaves. Suddenly, the eel lunges at him. He glances back and screams, surprised it made its move so quickly. He swims to the side just as the eel smashes into the earth. Feeling panicked, he knows he needs to move fast. He's running out of air. Remembering that the stomach is the weak spot, he makes his decision and attacks, biting into the eel. He will fight to survive, he thinks. He stops and spits out the eel's meat, realizing it's slimy and burns for some reason. Suddenly, the meat he spat out catches fire. He begins to panic as the fire spreads in the water, bewildered by how that's possible. He glances at the burnt eel, questioning if it's an illusion caused by the eel's slime, realizing how others might have been ensnared. Recalling Chen's teachings on dealing with illusions, he focuses on concentrating all his energy into a single point of his consciousness. He starts to chant, feeling the power within him gather. With determination, he channels his energy, focusing intently. As he concentrates, the world around him begins to clarify, and he feels himself breaking free from the illusion. But he's not safe yet. As he looks around, he sees the eel charging at him, not ready to give up. Fear grips him, and he closes his eyes, thinking this is the end. In a panic, he swings his tail around wildly, feeling it slice through the eel's body. When he opens his eyes, he's shocked to see the eel defeated, its body in pieces. He stares, completely lost at what just happened, trying to comprehend the sudden turn of events. He looks down at his tail in surprise, amazed that it cut through the demonic eel. Pride fills him as he thinks about how sharp his golden scale is. If he cultivates until it covers his entire body, he could become invincible. But then he pauses, realizing he can't be careless. Luck played a part in this battle. The injured eel must have slammed into his golden scale. He decides to quickly hide inside the mountain and be careful. The scene shifts outside the river, where the meat is packed and ready. He examines his catch, thinking that this demonic beast meat should be enough for him to cultivate inside the mountain for a few months. In addition to the demon core, it should provide enough nourishment for him to break through into the third level of the spiritual awareness realm. But suddenly, his expression shifts to shock as he spots the snake catcher's badge embedded in the eel. He bows his head, recognizing the complexity of the situation. While the eel helped him fend off danger, it also tried to hunt him. He understands the law of nature and feels a sense of responsibility. With determination, he resolves to honor the fallen creature, vowing not to let its sacrifice be in vain. As he prepares to eat the core, he thinks that the eel will always be with him. But when he tries to swallow it, he can't. Frustrated, he grabs the meat and rushes toward the mountains, realizing the snake catchers will be here soon. He decides he can cultivate once he's safe in the mountains. Time passes, and the snake catchers arrive at the scene of the battle. One kneels by the eel's body, realizing how it escaped them earlier. He sees that the creature attacking people was a water demon, not the black snake. He thinks about how the black snake defeated the water demon. The others acknowledge the snake's cunning and discuss continuing their pursuit. One warns them about the mountain, home to a massive bear demon at the third level of cultivation. They consider the vast forested mountain ahead, knowing they might not find the old snake, even if it takes months, and that the bear demon could be a serious threat. He tells him that he heard the old black snake devoured a pill master from the Astronomical Bureau, along with the human-shaped pill he had nurtured for years. The other person looks at him, curious about the source of this information. Pointing back, he emphasizes that the medicinal effects of the pill must still be in the black snake's body. His companion thinks about being stuck in the third level of the true refinement realm for years, realizing how important this opportunity could be. He expresses concern about trying to go for something valuable and ending up in danger. With just the two of them, he feels it's too risky to enter the mountains. His companion reassures him, pointing to the mountains and saying that in a few months, they will be covered in snow. He explains that by that time, both the snake demon and the bear demon will go into hibernation. They agree to wait until then, feeling confident that they will be able to achieve their goal. A sense of determination fills the air as they consider their plan. The scene shifts to Snakey, who smiles happily in his cozy cave, enjoying the warmth and feeling safe. At the same time, one of the snake catchers thinks about their plans for the coming months. He imagines how the old black snake will help his cultivation, feeling excitement and determination for what's to come. 2 months pass, and the mountain is covered in snow. Snaky's voice echoes in the stillness as he reflects on the difficulty of breaking through from the second level to the third level of spiritual awareness, feeling the weight of his struggles. With a sigh, he acknowledges the challenges ahead as he continues to push toward his goal. We see Snaky examining his tail, reflecting on his efforts. He thinks about how he refined the demon core, blood, and flesh he obtained, continuing to cultivate for a few more days, yet he still hasn't broken through. Despite this, he acknowledges a minor accomplishment. 3 more pieces of golden scale have appeared on his tail. A sense of pride fills him as he considers his progress. He gazes into the cauldron, noting that the spiritual fog inside is full. He realizes he's at the peak of the second level. He thinks to himself that he just needs an opportunity. Once that comes, he believes he'll be able to break through to the third level. He steps outside and drags in more meat, thinking about how winter has arrived. His body is getting stiff, and he's running low on eel flesh. As he brings in the meat, he realizes he'll have to hibernate. He plans to wait until next spring to go out and hunt for food. The scene shifts to a person walking through the snow. We see the snake hunters with a group of people. One snake hunter announces that those who help in the search on the mountain will be rewarded with a string of coins. He urges everyone to stay focused and find the snake. The leader of the other group reassures him, saying that the people of Snake Village are skilled at catching snakes. He points out to specially trained dogs, emphasizing that they will succeed as long as there's a snake scent. They turn away, one commanding the others to stop talking and find it quickly. The other group watches, nodding in agreement. The trained dogs, Big Huang and Little Huang, eagerly follow the scent, ready to begin the search for the snake pit. The old man frowns, commenting on the arrogance of the snake catcher sect. Another man quickly counters, saying they have real skills, unlike their own group. He reminds them that they're benefiting from this trip. A third man smiles, sharing that his child, Xinyu, loves reading books. He remembers how Xinyu treasured a discarded book. He excitedly plans to take him to Teacher Chu's place to study once they receive the coins, imagining how happy the child will be. Laughter fills the air as they think about the future. Suddenly, the dogs start barking, catching everyone's attention. One person excitedly claims they found the snake quickly. Another suggests the dogs can search the nest for the black snake, but a snake catcher insists on checking himself. Meanwhile, Snaky is in the hole, panicking. He realizes the snake catchers have come into the mountain, and the dog's nose is too good. Panic sets in as he feels stiff and cold, knowing he's vulnerable. He realizes he can't escape right now, let alone fight. The man smiles, pointing out the old black snake's feces. As the snake catcher examines the hole, he suddenly screams in frustration, realizing it's actually bear feces. The man with the dogs insists his dog has never made a mistake in finding snakes, but the snake catcher gives him a disapproving look, challenging his knowledge. Just then, one snake catcher spots a cave and points it out, declaring he found a big hole. He tells the others to bring all the villagers to search inside. As the group agrees and leaves, Snaky thinks to himself, feeling relieved. He reflects on how he used stones to block the entrance, covered it with branches, and even placed bear feces on top. He dug a deep hole, confident they won't notice. Though he worries he might be overreacting, he decides to concentrate his energy to restore his body just in case. While the men complain about their treatment as they head to the cave, the snake catchers talk among themselves. One man points out that, although it's hidden deeper, it's clearly a snake pit. He notes that the fewer villagers survive, the less money they'll have to give out. Another agrees, confirming it's indeed a snake pit and stating that since their goal has been reached, the villagers are no longer needed. The group looks at the hole, unsure that a snake could have made such a large opening. The snake catchers continue discussing their plan, with one mentioning that they made the villagers search for the bear's hole, and another nodding, indicating they know what to do next. One snake catcher jumps down, saying he'll go lure the demon bear out. He plans to use the bear to take out the villagers first, then they'll hunt the bear together and finally go after the frozen demon snake. Meanwhile, Snaky, hidden nearby, feels panic. He's shocked that they want to harm their own companions. Thinking that even animals wouldn't do such a thing, it shows a darker side of humanity. As he senses one of the snake catchers nearby, Snakey realizes he shouldn't focus on that. The important thing is that they know he's here, putting him in great danger. Snakey thinks about the demon bear and considers that if he can take the chance to devour it, he might break through to the 3rd level. He imagines being strong enough to fight the snake catchers afterward, but then he shakes his head, realizing he's daydreaming while in danger. They plan to work together to defeat the bear, showing they're not rushing to kill him. Suddenly, panic sets in as he realizes he can't devour the demon bear in front of them. That would only invite trouble. The older snake hunter scoffs, mentioning that the 2 demonic beasts are only enough for one of them to break through. Snakey perks up, sensing a chance in their internal conflict. He carefully approaches the hole's entrance, planning to observe and wait for the right moment. Meanwhile, the other snake catcher returns, signaling that he has finished preparing their plan. Suddenly, a massive roar echoes from the cave as the demon bear awakens and charges at the group of men. They scream in fear, confused about whether the snake was inside. One shouts for everyone to just run. Panic spreads as they scramble to escape the looming threat. Desperate, they call for the snake hunters to help, but the older snake hunter scorns them, labeling them trash for causing such a mess. He coldly tells them they are on their own, leaving them to fend for themselves against the raging bear. The old man draws his weapon, shouting that the others did this on purpose. Angered, another man accuses them of wanting to save money by getting rid of them. The old man fires an arrow, declaring they won't escape their actions. The arrow hits a bag, causing items to spill out. Snakey watches closely, recognizing a familiar scent. This smells, it's the human's pill. He thinks, picking up the fallen replenishing pill. The scent invigorates him. Nearby, a snake hunter urges the group to hurry as the bear approaches. Another grabs a few items, planning to keep what he finds. They wonder how long the other group lasted against the demon bear, realizing they were likely wiped out. Suddenly, the younger snake hunter's eyes glow red as he prepares a powerful air skill. His senior brother turns to curse him, but it's too late. The blast sends him off the cliff, plummeting toward the roaring bear below. He crashes into the snow right in front of the demon bear, which glares down at him with glowing red eyes. The senior brother, furious, curses the younger snake hunter, realizing he has been tricked and vowing to get even. Suddenly, the younger snake hunter activates a skill, lifting himself into the air with a smug expression. He revels in the chaos below while the senior brother clutches his injured arm, watching helplessly as the bear looms closer, leaving him to confront the threat alone. The demon bear lunges forward, and the younger hunter smirks, pointing out the breakthrough material before the senior brother. Frustrated, the senior brother curses and activates a talisman bomb. It explodes with a powerful force, hitting the bear. The younger hunter chuckles, enjoying the chaos. He prepares to leave, knowing the situation has escalated. The demon bear roars furiously, rising up, ready to unleash its wrath. Snakey watches intently, noting that one hunter is down and the demon bear is heavily injured. The air is thick with tension, and he senses this might be his best chance to act. As he hears the younger snake hunter laughing and speculating about the excuses he'll give to the clan, a spark ignites within him. Feeling the surge of energy from the replenishing pill, he makes his move. Dashing out of the hole, determination coursing through him, he thinks, it's my turn now. But little does he know, the true battle is only just beginning. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and like. It really helps me out.